If you're a guy in your 30s, 40s, or maybe even older, I'm willing to bet you are probably not as strong as you would like to be in the gym, and you probably think it's because of your age. In this video, I'm going to tell you why your age is not the problem, and I will tell you step by step how you can get as strong as humanly possible in the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift without using your age as an excuse ever again. So let me get straight into it and not waste any of your time. So, a lot of 30, 40, and even older guys, because I coach a bunch of these guys, most of my clients are in their 30s, 40s, or even older. They're not making the progress they want to in the gym, and they will use their age as the number one excuse. You'll see it in the YouTube comments all the time. Guys will say like, oh, what does this guy know what he's talking about? I can't recover like I used to in my 20s. I get beat up, I'm tired, I'm fatigued. And let me just kind of make a bit of an assessment about your current situation watching this video. So I'm willing to bet that if you're in your 30s, 40s, or maybe even a bit older, you probably aren't getting strong at the rate you used to. The gains have slowed down. You probably feel quite tired, quite fatigued on a consistent basis. Maybe you've got some joint pain. You don't sleep the best when you wake up in the morning. Everything hurts. You don't feel well recovered. When you get injured, it takes a really long time to bounce back from that injury. And things in the gym just generally feel quite heavy and you don't make the progress that you did before. When we look at your physique, probably you're holding a bit of water, a bit of fat around your belly, you don't have any vascularity or separation, and you put all of this down to your age. Now, what if I told you that most of these problems have nothing to do with your age? I coach guys who are really, really strong and really jacked, who are older than you. Mark, in this picture right here, he is 67 years old. He's from the UK. I've been coaching him for over a year now. And he looks jacked and he's getting stronger all the time. And I have loads of clients like this. So the problem is not your age. The problems actually are, number one, you follow a generic cookie cutter training program that probably isn't very good. Something like 531, Texas method, GZCL, just one of these random generic templates that are out there that wasn't written for you. And these templates oftentimes will have you training far too hard. I'm willing to bet that your approach now to getting stronger is you think that the harder you train, the better the results. You think you just need to force weight on the bar every single week, keep adding 5 pounds until you crumble and need to deload basically. Everything has to be hard and heavy to be effective. You probably do way too much training close to failure. You probably have way too many exercises in your training program. You do like 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 movements per day. And your recovery is probably very, very poor. You're probably a guy who works a demanding job. You work a lot of hours. You might have kids. You have a wife. You've got other responsibilities outside of the gym. And then the training is just the thing that pushes you over the edge, makes you really, really tired. It's probably affecting your mood and stuff like that as well. So the problem is not your age, it's a combination of these factors. And I'm going to tell you in the next few slides exactly how to fix it step by step, and you can stop wasting your time on suboptimal approaches, okay? So fix number one, and this one I'm going to make really, really simple. Stop training to failure on the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift ever, under any circumstances. Just literally never ever go to failure again. You don't need to. There is no benefit to doing so unless there is a circumstance where you are trying to test your 1 rep max and you miss the lift. In routine training, you should never be training to failure on the main lifts. Yes, you get a little bit extra stimulus from going to failure, but you get a massive amount more fatigue, which hinders future training because you can't recover. You need to take a deload or take time off. So just stop training to failure on the squat, bench, and the deadlift, okay? Now, this is going to require a bit of a mindset change, okay? You need to understand that your training sessions are training. They are not a performance. Every time you step in the gym, you are not trying to perform or to test your strength. You are trying to build your strength. View every training session as a small deposit in a long chain of training sessions that lead to a PR. The easiest way I can kind of demonstrate this to you is imagine someone like Usain Bolt. Do you think Usain Bolt, every time he gets out on the track and he does a training session, do you think he tries to break his world record sprint every time he trains? No, of course he doesn't. He couldn't do that. It wouldn't be sustainable. He wouldn't be in a place every session to be able to do that in the first place. So what he does is he builds up loads of really good sprint sessions. Maybe he increases the intensity slowly over the course of a period of training, like one of his training blocks or months, for example. And then when the competition comes, he tries to perform and break the record. That is exactly what you should be doing in the gym. You deposit loads and loads of training sessions, sub-maximal sessions, where gradually the difficulty increases over time. Then we get to the end of a particular time frame, maybe 12 weeks, for example, and we try to test a max. We don't go in the gym and just try and go hard, hard, hard every single session, max out, force weight on the bar. That's what you're doing right now. And that's why you're always fatigued, beat up, and the training leads nowhere. You add 5 pounds for maybe 5 weeks in a row, then you crash and burn because of the fatigue, take a deload, start over again, and you just continue this cycle of never actually hitting any PRs. So instead, segment your training into blocks, okay? This can be blocks of like around 4 to 6 weeks for most people. Start the training block light, end it heavy, have a gradual increase in intensity through the block. When you get to the heaviest point, reset, start over again, and then you can start to stack these training blocks together. This way, you get on top of fatigue before it reaches that tipping point where you're really, really tired, beat up, and need a deload. And it just gives you a natural progression to kind of acclimate to the workload. You start light, end heavy, reset that process over and over, rather than just training like a jackass, trying to put 5 pounds on the bar every single week, expecting to PR all the time. You know that's not going to happen. It hasn't been working. So get on top of it now and change it before you just keep running your head into a brick wall. Now, do some of your work hard and some of it light. And what I mean by that is go in, and right now you probably do like a 5x5, for example. That's a very common approach. 5 sets of 5 hard reps, and they're all really close to failure. How about instead of that 5 sets of 5 that are really hard, we do one of those sets hard, and then the remaining 4 sets, we do them quite easy, quite light. So that top set is your benchmark for the day's performance. It tells you where you're at. It gives you some practice at heavier weights, higher percentages of 1RM, closer to your max. Then that sub-maximal work that you do, those 4 sets of 5 that are maybe around 60 to 70%, those drive the stimulus that drive that top set up. But because it's a bit lower in intensity, it's easy to recover from. Then you can actually adapt and get stronger. And you can do that multiple times a week. Because right now, you can probably only squat, bench, and deadlift once a week because you train so hard. If instead of that heavy 5x5, we did 1 hard set, 4 easy sets, then you could train the main lifts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You could do them multiple times, get really, really good at them, and therefore get much stronger. Same again with the example of Usain Bolt. If he were to do every single training session to his absolute max capacity, he could probably only sprint once every week or once every 2 weeks. Whereas if he did sub-maximal training sessions, he can train multiple times a week, accumulate more work, and therefore get faster over time, which is what you are trying to do as well. Now, you can go ham on your accessories, so something like this, like a chest press machine or a bicep curl or a tricep push down or something like that, because there is far less central fatigue involved. They are using far less weight, there's less kind of technique demands there, so you can recover a bit easier. So do some of your strength training hard, most of it lighter, and then go ham on your bodybuilding accessories, okay? Now, fix number 2, if my mouse is going to work. Dial down the average intensity of your training, okay? So right now, you probably do a lot of your training at like 80, 85% or something like that. Like I mentioned, like a heavy 5x5 at like 80%. Now, if you were to take that average intensity from 80% or 85, drop it down to 60 to 70%. Again, you can do more of it. You can actually recover, adapt, and get stronger. Now, if you take anything from this video, we want to find the minimum effective dose of stress that is going to get you stronger. What I mean by that, I am a person who can squat around 250 kilos, about 545 pounds, right? I do my volume work on the squat with about somewhere between 140 to 160 kilos, so about 315 to 365 pounds for sets of 4 reps. Now you can imagine I can probably squat 315 for 20, 30 plus reps, but I'm doing it for sets of 4. Now hear me out. The reason why is because if I can get stronger doing 140 kilos for my volume work, why would I put 180 kilos on the bar? Like, why would I do that? We want the volume work to get us stronger, right? We don't want it to just be hard for no reason. So if 140 kilos is enough stress for my top set to go up and get stronger, why would I put 180 on the bar? It doesn't make any sense. That 180 kilos costs me more fatigue. It's harder. I can't recover from it as quickly. Therefore, I can't do as much squatting. So we want to find the minimum effective dose. So instead of just blindly trying to force 5 pounds on the bar every single week on all of your volume work, find a dose of stress that gets you stronger, okay? The minimum effective dose. So if 135 pounds for your volume work is resulting in you getting stronger and you can put weight on the bar on your heaviest top set, just stay there. When it stops working, add a little bit more weight, but don't just blindly put more and more weight on the bar. View your training as stress. We need to accumulate some degree of stress. You recover from that stress, adaptations happen, and then you can put more weight on the bar, okay? You don't get stronger by just forcing more weight on the bar blindly, and then you can't recover from it, and you end up going backwards like you are right now because you're so fatigued, you're outstripping your recovery resources. So, like I said, if I can get stronger at 140 kilos for my volume work, I'm going to do 140 kilos, not 180 kilos. So, the way that I would do this, I would use ascending RPE top sets. What I mean by that is for these heavy top sets, start with a lighter top set on week 1, maybe like RPE 5. Then you might go RPE 6 on week 2, 7, 8, 9, and then repeat that into the next block where you go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 again. Gives you a chance to acclimate to the training stress, gradually put more and more weight on the bar. For the volume work, I would recommend that you lift 60 to 75% of your estimated 1 rep max for sets of 4 to 6 reps, okay? It's going to be very easy. It's going to have you leaving 5, maybe 10 plus reps in reserve. And you might be thinking, like, why would I train that light? Like I've just said, we want to find the minimum effective dose. If you can get stronger on 60%, don't do 75% just because people on the internet say you should. Do 60%, see what happens. If your top set is going up and you're able to add weight to the bar in line with your target RPE, stick there. If you're not, if your top set isn't going up and you feel really fresh and well recovered, then maybe go up to 63%, 65% or something like that. But don't just force weight on the bar just because you think that's how you get stronger, because it isn't. We need to find an appropriate dose of stress, okay? So if you take anything from this presentation, find the minimum effective dose. The lightest weight that you can lift on your volume work that results in you getting stronger. When it stops, just bump the weight up a little bit, okay? So you can see here, like when I was at my strongest, here I was squatting, I think this is about 227.5 kilos, which is like 520 maybe. I was doing my volume work about 150 kilos for sets of 4. Here, this is one of my secondary deadlift days. I was doing 220 kilos for a single on this day, and I can deadlift 300 kilos. So again, doesn't need to be heavy to get you stronger, and harder training does not equal better training, okay? So get that idea out of your head. Fix number 3, less frequency. So too many of you guys think that you need to just do more and more and more to get stronger. You think that more is better. A lot of you guys are doing like 6 days per week push-pull legs. Some of you doing even 7 days a week, 5 days per week, like upper lower push-pull legs. You don't need to train that often. Training frequency, yes, is very individualized. I have some guys who train 3 days a week on low volume and get really strong. I have some guys who train 6 days a week and get really, really strong. So there is a bit of a spectrum. However, I will say that the best frequency that I have seen across the board for most guys, especially guys like yourself who are 30, 40 plus years old, is 3 to 4 days a week. That is more than sufficient to get you stronger. I think 4 times per week is a nice kind of middle ground to get you strong. I was training 4 times per week when I pulled this 300 kilo deadlift here, 661 pounds. And a lot of guys were always asking me like, oh, you must train every day. You must do like really high volumes. I trained 4 days a week. I think I only did like 8 total sets of deadlifting per week. So oftentimes less is more. And if you are thinking if you're trying to decide how much frequency you should train with, I would recommend asking yourself the question, how many training days can I realistically stick to for the next year straight without missing one single training session? That might be a lower frequency than you expect. Now, on paper, a 5-day per week split might look amazing for you. That might be like the optimal training split for you. But if you can't stick to it and you keep missing days and it's causing you stress to get to the gym and making you feel fatigued and beat up, go with 3 days or 4 days. We want a split that you can do for the next year straight without missing a day, because the biggest factor in your progress over the next few years is going to be how many sessions you miss. When I was at my strongest, and the guys that I coach when they are at their strongest, it's during periods of training when we don't miss any single training days. You need to train with some like psychopathic level of consistency if you want to get really, really strong. So pick a schedule, a training split that you can actually stick to long term, rather than one that looks optimal on paper. And then all of a sudden you won't feel fatigued all the time, beat up, because you've actually got sufficient time to rest. Fix number 4, and this is a big one, more movement variety. So The training program that you follow right now, if you're on one of those generic ones or you wrote it yourself, you probably come from like a traditional strength training background. And what I mean by that is you listen to like Mark Rippetoe and those old school strength coaches. He probably hates me right now, by the way, because I shit on his ideas like every video. But no hate against him, by the way. Just the ideas are just terrible for the average guy. Yeah, you probably come from that traditional strength training background where you are told like, if you want to get strong at the squat, bench, deadlift, you have to just squat, bench, and deadlift. Now, yes, specificity is important. Strength is very specific to a given exercise, range of motion, movement velocity, contraction type, all these different things. However, the reason a lot of you guys feel so beat up, so tired, your joints hurt so much is because you just hammer the same movements over and over and over again. You probably got a bunch of overuse injuries from doing the same things. You probably got like tendonitis in your elbows. You probably got shoulder pain, especially at the bottom of the bench press. You probably tweak your back sometimes. And the reason is because your movement selection is so confined, like you barely do any different movements. You lose a lot of length in a lot of tissues because you don't expose yourself to different ranges of motion. You don't build up muscle groups that contribute to the main lifts. And you're probably not very happy with your physique because you barely do any bodybuilding work. And the bodybuilding that you do is just like a lazy 3x10 or something like that. And oftentimes you're so beat up from the main lifts that you just skip your accessories or you half-ass them anyway because you don't have the energy to do it. So thing number one, stop doing only the squat, bench, and deadlift. Yes, they are important, but a good strength training program will have you do just enough squat, bench, deadlifting that you are really skilled at them, really proficient, they feel really, really good and really fluid. But then the rest of the program should be accessories targeted at weak points. It should be bodybuilding work. It should be rehab or resilience type movements to build you a base that contributes to the main lifts, gets you stronger, improves your physique, and improves life outside of the gym and keeps you healthy as well. So I split this into three main categories here. So we've got accessories for strength, but with a purpose. We need to identify weak points in your training. So for example, if every time you do the bench press, you fail at lockout because your bar path isn't very good, I might do a pin bench with you where you bring the bar down, you rest it on the pins, and that position forces you to press in an efficient bar path, pressing the bar back and then up. It's a good teaching tool to establish that pattern, rather than just having you hammer the competition bench over and over and over again, beat up your elbows and not get any stronger. Then we want to do some actual like good quality hard bodybuilding work. We want to get you jacked. Number one, because it makes your physique look good. It's going to improve your health to have more muscle mass. And third, it's going to contribute to the main lifts. Hypertrophy is one of the biggest things that we can modify in our training to get stronger long term. If you want to get really, really strong, you need to be jacked. So once we've got a good dose of squat, benching, and deadlifting, we need to do some hard accessories. Excuse me, I don't even know what that alarm is for. We need to do a good dose of accessories that is going to get you stronger. That is going to require intelligent programming of bodybuilding work. I like to do around 2 or 3 sets per movement for about 4 to 10 reps, RPE 9 to 10. So really, really hard stuff. And I don't want it just tacked on the end of your training sessions. I want the squat, benching, and deadlifting to be light enough that you feel fresh for the bodybuilding and you can really hit it with some intensity and actually grow some muscle and change your physique. Finally, we want to do some resilience or rehab type training. If you're a guy who's getting a bit older, you're in your 40s or even above, a really huge component of your strength training is just going to be keeping you healthy. If you want to get really, really strong long term, we need to keep you free from injury. Not to mention outside of the gym, we want you to live longer. I don't want you to die from like sarcopenia and muscle loss and be that guy who can't even stand up out of a chair when he's 50 or 60 years old. So we might do movements like this, like the Camperini deadlift, the Jefferson curl, where we train positions that maybe hurt you in the gym. So if you're constantly tweaking your back, maybe we do a Jefferson curl to train spinal flexion and to improve your confidence in that position, build up some resilience. Or if you're a guy who gets a lot of shoulder pain in the low bar squat position or at the bottom of the bench press, maybe I get you to train external rotation directly, okay? So we want a bit more movement variety so you're not so beat up and you're not experiencing so many overuse injuries and you're not so limited just to squat, bench, and deadlift, okay? We want to build you up a broad base. That's really important as an older guy. Now, fix number 5 is to fix your externals. Now, I always explain this to guys, like imagine you're 30, 40 years old or maybe above. You probably work quite a lot of hours. You probably work a demanding job. You might not love that job that much. You might have a partner. You might have kids. So chances are your life stress is quite high. Now, I put this term here, allostatic load, and this is important because your body cannot really differentiate, or your brain cannot differentiate between different forms of stress. Now, if life stress is high and training stress is high, all of those stresses are filling the same cup. Your body doesn't know the difference. And it's going to overflow if you don't manage the stress coming from those different aspects. So if you're trying to beat yourself to the ground in the gym and life stress is really high, something is going to give. You're not going to make progress because you just can't recover and adapt and get stronger from all of those stresses, okay? So obviously, I'm giving you some tips to adjust the training. We need to dial down the intensity, stay away from failure, find a reasonable training split. But we can also attack it from the other side and fix your externals as well. So nutrition is a huge one, and you'd be shocked how many guys in their 30s or 40s eat like complete shit. It's crazy to me. Like, I do these calls all the time, and the two big ones is guys do not track their food, or they have absolutely no idea how many calories they take in, or they don't even know how much protein. They think they eat high protein, but when I assess their diet, it's actually like 100 grams a day. They're eating like a bird. I'm wondering why they're not getting stronger. And then secondly, a lot of guys in this age bracket, they have no idea what they're doing with their body weight. They just say, I'm maintaining. I maintain for most of the year. And then I ask them, like, do you think that's the best approach? They say no. Because if you're just sitting at maintenance for most of the year, like, you're not maximizing fat loss, you're not maximizing muscle gain. So what are you doing there? You're just staying the same for the whole year. As opposed to if we get you into a cut with a very clear endpoint, we say we're going to cut to this body fat, this waist circumference. Then we're going to do a productive slow weight gain period. We're going to bulk to this body fat, to this waist measurement, hit it with way more intent, and actually change your body composition and fuel your training. Now, a big one that I look at with guys in your age group is waist circumference. This is really, really important because all of the data we have, all of the scientific studies, they suggest that as a guy's waist circumference around the belly button starts to get close to 37 inches, your risk for basically every disease goes up massively, your risk of early death. So it's really, really important that we get nutrition dialed in and we get you to a place where you're at a healthy body composition. Now, you should be eating more meals like this, more whole foods. We've just got eggs, fruit, vegetables, stuff like this, rather than all this processed stuff that you're eating. I would highly recommend for a guy of your age who works quite a lot, you just get on a meal plan. Literally just type out like 2 or 3 good meals. I personally eat twice a day. I wake up, I have a protein shake. For lunch, I'll usually have this meal, which is a 6-egg omelet, which I burn on this day. I'll have some electrolytes in water and then a bunch of fruit and coffee. And then my dinner will be something like this: ground beef, eggs, rice, vegetables. That's it. I just eat the same thing every day and hit my targets, okay? Now, sleep is another big one. I am probably not the best guy to give you advice on sleep. It's currently like 7 p.m. and I just got a coffee. So do as I say, not as I do, I think is the saying. But yeah, sleep. You need to be getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night, every single night, if you want to get the best results in the gym. Now, I will say you can probably get away with a bit less if you have all of the other factors in check. Probably not ideal, but if you can get like your training intensity dialed down a bit and stuff like that, you can probably get away with a little bit less sleep. I usually sleep like 4 to 5 hours a night, like for long stretches, and my training is going completely fine. So now, relationships and life outside of the gym as well. This is a big one, because a lot of guys won't dedicate any time to like leisure or social activities outside of the gym. And this is a really, really big facet of your training as well, because if you're isolated, your mood is poor, you are not going to be able to recover well from the training. So make sure you get that in check as well, okay? Now, here are some pro tips for 30 to 40 plus year olds to improve your training instantly. Just go apply these. Literally, this is your action step after watching this video. Go apply these straight away today, and I promise it will improve your results from the gym drastically. So if you take anything from this video, lighter is better when it comes to strength training, okay? Always, just generally across the board, you do not need to be training really heavy and really hard for strength. This is a huge misconception that a lot of guys have about strength training. They think that harder is better, heavier is better, and it's not. The top guys don't train like that. I've been coached by the top guys. I work with some of the top guys. They don't train like that. They do a few sets hard and heavy, some of their heavy top sets, like 1 to 3 reps at RPE 5 to 9, and then they do their volume work generally in the 60 to 75% range. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is see what the lightest dose of training is that you can get away with to get stronger, and then just very incrementally bump it up over time. Stop doing a really hard 5x5, scale it down and train a bit lighter. Now, each of your sessions should be around a 6 to a 7 out of 10 difficulty. If you are always going in there and you are redlining like 10 out of 10 training sessions because you think harder training is better, you are going to fall off a cliff and have to deload all the time. You want to accumulate a bunch of training sessions at moderate difficulties. So maybe your training block might look like this. You just do moderate difficulty through the whole training block. Towards the end, it gets a bit harder, and then you reset into the next training block. To get really, really strong, you need to accumulate a bunch of really productive training over months and months and years so that we can then hit a PR at the end of a long period of training. When you are a more intermediate or advanced guy, you cannot PR every training week or every training block, and you should not try to. You need to accumulate a lot of training stress if you want to hit PRs. This term here, stimulate, not annihilate. Go into the gym every single time and try to stimulate, try to accumulate some training stress rather than treating every single training session as a performance. You don't need to have as much weight on the bar as possible every single training session. And if I could give you one piece of advice here, most of your training sessions, you should be putting a weight on the bar that should be on the bar, not a weight that you want to be on the bar, okay? If you are getting really, really anxious, really, really nervous for the weight that is on the bar, most sessions for the squat, bench, and deadlift, it's probably too heavy and you're lifting too much. You're trying to perform rather than train, okay? Keep that in mind for your training sessions. This is a training session, a deposit towards a future PR. This is not a performance every single session. You don't need to be going as heavy as possible and trying to just force weight on the bar. So finally, if you need more help, if a few of these concepts sound a bit kind of confusing to you, click the top link in the description. I work with guys like you every single day, guys who are in their 30s, 40s, even above. And basically what happens, we jump on a call, we will go through some of your problems with your training and nutrition, see what is holding you back. Then we will map out your goals together. I will come up with a plan together with you to fix some of these issues. We will then work one-to-one together. I will write you an individualized training plan. I will set up your nutrition, lock in a cut or a bulk. You'll be added to the community group with my other really, really strong lifters. And if you're always seeing like really strong guys around you benching 4 plates and stuff like that, you will automatically level up and get there yourself. You will have my mentorship every single day to get you to where you need to be. My lifters check in with me every single time they train. I then assess your training, make small changes, and get you closer to where you need to be, okay? So if you want to work with me, top link in the description, book a call. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions and stuff like that, post them in the comment section down below. Make sure you subscribe for future strength training videos. And until next time, I will catch you in the next one.